Hello everyone, Jonny Skywatcher here, and welcome to Jonny Skywatcher Live, the show where I like to talk about movie news, TV news, and whatever else comes to mind. And today is another Rush show, like it is usually here on Jonny Skywatcher. So don't be surprised. Wow, I can really hear that. Maybe I should, adjust my mic a little bit, maybe further away. I don't know. I know I don't have the best mic set up in the world, so sue me. So okay, I'm running a little behind, so let me just adjust some things so I don't accidentally put the intro in again. And there we go. Okay, so I'm completely unprepared as always. Don't be too surprised. Please try to be less surprised. It's okay. So let's see. Let's just drop a message in chat. Why not? Welcome, Jude. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, I only really have two topics that I can think of to talk about, and that is, excuse me, terrible. Why the burping? I don't know. That two topics. So do just a quick look over the box office for this last weekend. Admittedly, I haven't got a chance to really look it over, so I've just looking it over now. I'm not seeing any huge seismic news. And then the other thing we can talk about is Werewolf by Night came out this last weekend. Tell you about my reaction to it, what I thought about it. What else? Because on Friday I didn't talk about She-Hulk because I already saw it. Well, I hadn't seen it. Yeah, maybe I should talk about She-Hulk. Yeah, it was the Daredevil. We'll see when we get there. Let's see how long it takes to just talk about my normal sort of stuff. And I am trying to do it with my headphones in, listening to myself, just so it doesn't get too, because I can hear the breath noise. So to try to mitigate that, which actually let me try to adjust my filter because I'm hearing it like the worst. I don't know if this helps. I'm going the wrong way. No, I need to go up, right? Check. Okay, there we go. Okay, I can breathe a little bit, but doesn't this go a little bit further up high? Hopefully that doesn't sound too bad. I need to breathe. I don't know. Terrible. My sinuses are always messed up, so now you're losing me sometimes. Sometimes you can't hear everything I'm saying because the mic is too far away. So terrible. Just terrible. I need a professional audio engineer in here because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, moving on. I can go to studio mode so I can see what I'm setting up. Moving on. Let's take a look at the box office, shall we? So this is the box office for this last weekend. I didn't get a chance to talk about last weekend, which take a quick look at that because I was busy last week with work. So if we take a quick look, last week Smile and Bros opened. Bros, I heard from numerous sources, did not do very well. Actually, it did quite poorly, and it seemed that trend continued into this weekend. And there are all sorts of articles and theories about why that is. And I don't think I really have anything groundbreaking to contribute in that. I didn't see Bros. One big reason for me is that the 8 trailers just didn't look interesting. And one thing I'll say about Bros that I haven't seen a lot of people saying is that for a rom-com, the trailer, at least a couple trailers that I saw, I still don't know what the movie's about. Other than Billy Eichner's a gay guy, and then he hooks up with somebody. And then also, like, from the trailers, you don't even get the necessarily the idea of who the other guy is. Like, usually in rom-com trailers, you know who the male lead and the female lead are, right? I don't. If I had just seen the trailers and I hadn't seen the picture that they seem to every other news source uses in talking about this movie from the box office, I could not tell you that this was necessarily about Billy Eichner's character, a rom-com with him, someone being with someone else, or just a movie with Billy Eichner's character doing something or hooking up a lot. I don't know. You know, I mean, there are certain, like, sort of rom-com-ish movies that are more about the central character than they are about a relationship. But I really can't tell you what the movie's about because the trailer didn't tell me. So, like, other than there's gay people. And I think that's one factor of many. Like, a movie like this doing so poorly is it's always going to be a factor of many. There's going to be a lot of factors, not just one thing that to doing so poorly. And I feel like my audio is like, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me try doing it right in front of me. It's always going to be one factor of many. So I can hear. So if we move on to, let's go to this week. And then Smile was top of the box office. So looking at this week, Smile continues to be top of the box office with newcomers Lyle Crocodile, which I talked about on Friday, that looked terrible, which, oh my god, it made 11 million. Good for them. You know what? Good for them. It's a kid's movie, you know, family friendly. I have no idea how much it costs or if that's good or bad. It certainly didn't look expensive. It didn't look like a movie that was like breaking the bank. So I guess that's good. I don't know. Let me turn this down some. Okay, so, and then right behind Lila Crocodile, you have Amsterdam, which, yeah, I'm not a box office analyst. I don't know. That probably's okay. And then The Woman King, followed by Don't Worry, Darling. And then you can see Bros went all the way down to number 8. It debuted at number 5, which was bad, and now it's number 8. It's making 2.2 million. Next week, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes under 1 million. That movie's gone. I mean, it barely made more than Top Gun Maverick, and it's what, 20th week. And it's still, I don't know. I did recently see Top Gun Maverick partially, because someone forced me to watch it. I still have no interest in it, and people love it for some reason. They're still seeing it in theaters. It's available on digital. I don't think it's available free on the streaming service yet, but it's still going like crazy. That's good for them. So okay, let's I guess we can move on and let's talk about like Werewolf by Night. So Werewolf by Night came out this last weekend, which I felt like it came out sooner than I was expecting. I mean, I knew it was going to be coming out around Halloween, well, October. But yeah, it kind of just snuck up. Like, we had felt like one trailer. I'd heard about this project for some time. Like, people said this was coming, and then we hadn't heard anything. I believe we didn't hear anything in Comic-Con, and then we got the trailer with D23, and now here it is. And I have to say, it's the best thing Marvel has put out on Disney Plus. Like, there's been I've been feeling a lot with like the Disney Plus Marvel projects. They just haven't lived up to their potential. Some of them have been very disappointing. Some of them have been pretty good, but even like say WandaVision, which I really did enjoy a lot. I felt like it didn't quite stick the landing, and there's just different parts about it that just didn't quite hold, especially in hindsight when it comes to like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But this project, Werewolf by Night, is something that's entirely self-contained, at least for the moment. You have entirely new characters. It's a very well done homage to the horror films of the I think 40s, 50s, maybe earlier 30s, and it's just this entirely new, fresh take that, other than like a couple characters, doesn't even seem like it is necessarily in the MCU. There's a lot of things which I was even reading up a little bit more that, like, if you're a hardcore comics fan, you probably know more about these characters than I do. Like the whole Bloodstone. There's the character of I think Elias Bloodstone. She's from the comics. She has a kind of a different look in the comics, but she's from the comics. So I was reading a little bit about that. And then you have the werewolf Jack, and then Man-Thing, which I don't know the publishing history behind, because you also have Swamp Thing. Isn't that his name, from DC Comics? And then you have Man-Thing, which came first? Because the little bit I read about Man-Thing's origin seemed very similar to what I know about Swamp Thing. It's one of those things where like Marvel and DC copy each other so much that like they just have like what seems like the same kind of character. So I don't know that much about Man-Thing, but he was a cool character in this, and the effects were very impressive. I don't know how much was CG. I mean, obviously there was some CG when it came to Man-Thing, but I was reading also there was a lot more practical than you would necessarily think. I mean, it wasn't like just entirely, slapping an entire CGI character into it. But I haven't looked too much into it. So yeah, I have to say, if you're on the fence about Werewolf by Night, I say go watch it. It's a legitimately good short movie. I think it's only like 55 minutes with credits, and it doesn't have like the overly long credits like some of the Marvel shows have had. So I mean, it's a nice tight story. It doesn't go on too long, and it feels like you get a full story at the same time. And I mean, I have to say, I just won't go on too long, because just saying I loved it over and over, it isn't that interesting. But I have to say, I really love the style of it. The black and white works really well for this kind of story they're telling. and also kind of makes sense by the end. I won't. It's not really spoilers. It's a little bit. There's kind of a reason for it that makes sense at the end, and the characters were well written and interesting. One criticism I did hear that I would agree with a little bit is that some of the other hunters didn't really have any personality other than they were there. So I think it could have used a little bit more just to flesh out some of those other characters so that you maybe feel something when stuff is happening to them or think something about them. But I think it still works. Like, it's not too worse for wear for not having some development with some of the other characters. But yeah, that would be my one criticism, that some of the other characters in this don't quite get enough to them, other than, I mean, there's like one specific character I'm thinking of, like the I don't know any of their names. It's like the slightly androgynous character, and yeah, they're kind of just there, and then they attack later, and then they're part of the thing, and then yeah, they don't. I can't remember if they even say anything. I can't even remember if they're a man or a woman. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, that would be my one criticism. But overall, still have to say, a fantastic I was gonna say series or show. It's just a fantastic movie. A very short movie, but it's worth watching, and it's definitely the best thing Marvel has done on Disney Plus, which is a little disappointing to say, considering some of the kind of shows that they've been putting out on Disney Plus. That this is much better than pretty much everything. And okay, let's see. Moving on, we should probably talk a little bit about She-Hulk. She-Hulk, what is it? Episode 8. So we are at almost near the end now, and so we got Daredevil, and like I said, it was one episode. I had the thought that maybe he would show up as the lawyer in one episode and then Daredevil the next, or whatever. Maybe it would be kind of carry over into the finale, and I kind of thought that because she's in her super suit, and I kind of thought that might not happen until the very last episode. But then at the same time, I thought it would be a little weird if you introduce Matt in the very last episode. I don't think we're getting Matt in the last episode now. So with She-Hulk, full spoilers. I mean, it was last week. You can go out and see it, and if you didn't, if spoilers are so hurtful to you, just look up some images to put up. So yeah, Daredevil shows up in this episode, and I didn't hate it. I actually quite like the interaction between Daredevil and She-Hulk. And no matter what criticisms I have about this show, there's a lot of stuff that works. So I'm not one of those just She-Hulk bashing critics who just hates everything about this show and like, as a woman doing things, I hate that. No, there's a lot of good things. There's a lot of things that I have felt like this show could have done better, and there are certain things that in this episode that comes into, but most of this episode I really enjoyed. It felt like a full episode, even if I still say that the lawyer writing angle is not done really well, not compared to other legal shows. I'm not a legal expert or anything. It's just like you compare this to other legal dramas or comedies. This is not, the writing does not hold up, and it's a little bit just silly for the sake of being silly. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I've talked about that before, so it is what it is. We get sort of a legal showdown between Jennifer and Matt Murdock, which was cool, with her current client. What's his name? Frogman, Ribbitman, something. I forget. I'm like trying to look for images at the same time, which is be a lot easier if somebody was doing this with me. Yeah, whatever. You know, other shows like that, to show things, images that helped. You know what? Let me just show. I could just show like Google Images, right? You know. So yeah, you get Daredevil. So there's Daredevil, and you cannot see what I'm looking at all. Let me get here. So you get Daredevil in this episode, and I felt like he was portrayed really well. You know, it's still Daredevil. It's obviously not this grim and brooding Matt Murdock in the middle of season 3 of Daredevil, but I think obviously some time has passed, and if you watch the end of that show, it ends a little bit more hopeful. So there's no reason Max should be dark and brooding at this particular moment. And especially, why would he necessarily need to be dark and brooding in She-Hulk show? I think once we get to Daredevil's TV show, I think he'll probably be a little bit more dark and brooding than when you see him in this show. But just like how we are different people we present ourselves differently to different people, I think Matt is going to, you know, kind of present himself to Jennifer Walters differently than you'll see him in Daredevil. And I don't think there's a problem with that. I do think when I watched this episode, I did think that this is the kind of episode that could have felt, it doesn't feel like the penultimate episode to me. I'll just say that. It feels like this could have been happening earlier in the show. Honestly, this feels like an episode 2 or 3 of what this show should have been. And a lot of these other episodes just have been in the way of the show that I wanted to happening. But I feel like I've already said most of this with She-Hulk. So going into the finale, there isn't. I feel like I'm not sure what is going to happen in the finale. We certainly haven't really raised like set up a big conflict between her and a villain. Now here's the thing, I don't think that's necessarily bad. Not every superhero show needs to end with the same tired hero fights the villain in the final episode. That's part of the problem we've had with a lot of these things, is that like they keep falling to the same pattern. So the idea that they're doing something different with this, that's okay. I'm just not sure where it's going or what is going to happen. But it kind of also makes sense for a Hulk kind of story to be more about Hulk's relationship with people and how they perceive him or her than it is about punching a single person. So at least that's the way it seemed to be setting up going into the season finale at the end, was Jen has kind of really lost her temper in public, and especially that's a much bigger thing than Hulk, because Hulk's always been this big rage monster, but She-Hulk has kind of been able to present herself to the public and be like this person, big green woman who's in control. Now I feel like that would have been more powerful if we saw a little bit more of her in public doing things. I'm not sure exactly what you need to show to get to that point, but I get the idea of what they're going for, and I think it still works. So you kind of have She-Hulk, like everybody's freaked out by her, her, you could say, justifiable reaction to, what do you call it? Revenge porn, basically. And so it's kind of setting up the end, like, she's kind of regaining it, and that regaining her composure, and she's just realized she totally effed up. So I'm not sure are they gonna really follow up on that in the finale, or are we gonna get like one scene and then it's moving on to the next thing? Is anything gonna get resolved in this show? I don't know. I feel like there's a chance nothing gets resolved. I feel like one thing I have to say about this that I didn't say last week was that the show promised us Hulk, or at least Bruce Banner, in the initial advertising for this. Like when they were before the first ad or trailer for this show, they were selling us on images of Jennifer Walters with Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo, and I have to say he's not been in the show at all. He was in one episode, and then a scene in the second episode, and he's been gone. So I feel like that was a little weird to sell this show to people with this image of Jennifer Walters and Bruce Banner. It kind of made it seem like he would be a bigger part of the show. Now, in fairness, I think having him not be a big part of the show was fine. I just feel like they should have sold the show that way. And yes, I get it. In the trailers, they didn't. I mean, obviously, he was kind of in the trailer a lot, but pretty much all those scenes were from the first episode. I think. And then also, we know that the first episode wasn't necessarily planned or written to be the first episode. It would have been the 8th. So if it had been that way, we would have only seen Bruce Banner a tiny bit in episode 1, and then right now we would have gotten the Hulk episode, which I don't think that would have been any better. You're still like, I just remember that first image they showed of She-Hulk, of Jennifer Walters and Bruce Banner, and they kept saying this, this is gonna be a weird, different show, and Mark Ruffalo is not part of this show. It was one episode. It just seems weird to me that they sold it that way when he was not. I don't know if they had different plans that changed when they finished writing the entire show or what, but like that's just weird to me. And like I said, I think it's fine that he wasn't a big part of the show, but they shouldn't have advertised it to be that way. And what else? Oh, also Daredevil, like I said, it feels like the second or third episode, and like I said last week, they should not have put him in the trailer. I get it, they're trying to sell it, and telling you that Daredevil is coming is of course a major tease and gets the fans all excited, but it's one episode and it doesn't even tie, it's not a big part of the plot, so it would have been better to be a big surprise. I mean, obviously, even if we hadn't seen him in the trailer, we saw him, his mask in the box. That's just one of the things of like thinking what could have been, like if they hadn't shown Daredevil in the trailer, we didn't know he was coming. and we saw the mask in the box, you know, we still wouldn't have known that he was going to be in an episode. I mean, we probably would have because of leaks or whatever, you know. So, I mean, but a lot of like people who aren't paying attention to everything wouldn't have known. I mean, I feel like even a lot of normies knew that he was going to be in the show from watching the trailer or hearing about the trailer at the very least. So if we hadn't gotten that, there'd still be a lot of debate after that episode where we see the box about whether he's going to actually show up, or is this just a, you know, just a small Easter egg, you know, just a small Easter egg for the fans, and maybe that's it. So it still could have been surprising if he showed up. So come on, Marvel, what you thinking? Okay, so what else about She-Hulk? So I talked about Daredevil. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about the show. I'll probably talk about it. I'll see if I can watch it this Thursday so I can talk about it Friday and tell you about my overall thoughts about the show. But going into the finale, which is this week, wow, already done. I have to say it's not my favorite Marvel TV show, which is like I feel like a new thing I say every time a new Marvel show comes out. Is it's not my favorite. I feel like I'm not as disappointed as I am in Ms. Marvel. Ms. Marvel is definitely on the bottom with Loki for me. This might be slightly higher because I feel like the highs of this show are higher than those shows. Like I felt like the promise in Ms. Marvel and Loki had a lot more promise in certain ways that totally disappointed me, but this show has delivered on things and had like portrayals or like jokes that just at least worked for me. Even if those full episodes didn't, it still has had a lot of moments that have worked for me more so than Ms. Marvel or Loki, which also had like small moments. But I mean, both Loki and Ms. Marvel had episodes that I really felt were like just badly written, especially Ms. Marvel. That's just some episodes that were just, in my opinion, especially the last episode, was just bad. Like, just badly written. Nothing against the creators, but like, I did not like that last episode. So we'll have to see how they do with the landing. Definitely not going to be one of my favorites, but hopefully we get something interesting. And honestly, I'm not expecting a big superhero, super villain fight. So I don't know what to expect. Okay. I think it's been half an hour. Let me see. I don't think I have any people commenting in the comments. So I think that's gonna be a wrap for me tonight. Did I just say something in an accent? That was weird. That was kind of weird, right? Thanks so much for watching, whether you're watching here live or later on the full video or in a segmented video. If you have anything comments to make about whether you disagree with what I said, feel free to leave those comments below. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe thing or whatever. You know the whole YouTube detail. Detail? What did he say? You know the whole YouTube spiel by now. If you've watched YouTube, I'm assuming you've watched YouTube if you're watching this. Anyway, go ahead, do all those things if you want. If you don't, I don't know, don't do them. I'm not gonna force you to do anything. And I will see you on Wednesday, where hopefully I am a little bit more prepared. But I have to be honest, I'm probably not gonna be. Okay. Well, with that, I hope you, anybody watching, has a wonderful day. and I will see you in the next live stream. Bye.